They say certain echoes never fade, the kind that replay in the dead of night when the world's asleep and your mind won't join it. I used to dismiss that as poetic fluff, something scripted for rainy evenings in old films. But echoes are real. They're merciless. Mine started with a single rap on the wood, 3 soft knocks that sliced through the quiet like a blade. I still see the glow from the porch light spilling across his features as the door swung open. Those eyes of his, tentative and searching, as if he sensed the invisible boundary we were both tiptoeing toward. He spoke the words anyway, and I let them in. Why? Even now that question gnaws at me. Was it the isolation that had wrapped around my days like fog? The way no one had truly regarded me, not as a partner, not as someone with a pulse and a pulse-quickening hunger, for what felt like an eternity? This isn't a tale spun from raw impulse. It bloomed from the barren soil of neglect, from the hush that swelled until it drowned out everything else. A spouse who glanced past me, a life brimming with unsaid aches. Ever stood in a crowd and felt like a shadow slipping through cracks? That was my rhythm, my unrelenting beat. And then there was him, my stepson. Uttering that aloud still twists something deep in my gut. But I have to voice it, lay it bare. Because perhaps you're out there, nodding in the dark, recognizing the pull. This isn't about temptation's siren call. It's the murky spaces we skirt in whispers, the way existence can fracture you without a courtesy flare. Go ahead, cast your stones. Label me whatever fits your fury. But hear me out first. I didn't chase this storm. It rolled in uninvited, and in its wake you might glimpse that humanity isn't carved in black and white. It's the smudged ink between, the flawed strokes we all bear. If you're lingering, if you sense that beneath our polished shells beat hearts tangled in thorns worth untangling, stick around for these confessions. They're the threads that bind us in our quiet unravelings. Mine unfolds on a drizzly Saturday, just as the threads of my world began to fray at the seams. I'd been tethered to Robert for 12 years. In the beginning, we were fireflies in the twilight, playful nudges over steaming mugs in the dawn-lit nook, secrets traded under covers like contraband, fingertips lingering in stolen glances when the room held its breath. We had that spark, the sort that warms from the inside out. But time has a thief's touch. It pilfered our glow bit by bit. Deadlines loomed larger than dreams, ledgers balanced heavier than laughter, and habits hardened into ruts that swallowed us whole. Our exchanges dwindled from dreams shared to errands listed, then to echoes in empty rooms. He'd trudge in after midnight shifts, hollowed by the grind. Suppers morphed into microwaved relics scarfed in solitude. Words? They evaporated into calendars and checklists. And contact, contact faded to rote, if it graced us at all. It wasn't that his affection had vanished. It had simply grown blind to me. You know that chill when eyes meet yours but slide right through as if you're a smudge on the glass? That's how Robert's gaze landed now, like I was the faded print on our living room wall, blending into the backdrop of our shared existence. Enter Ethan, Robert's boy from a marriage long dissolved. 16, teetering on 17. Reserved, courteous, with a quiet acuity that made you lean in when he finally broke silence. He carried his late mother's gaze, gentle yet piercing, the sort that cataloged your hidden fractures without a word. Ethan had always dotted our weekends and holidays with his presence, a polite orbit around our routine. But that autumn, the orbit tightened into permanence. His mother chased opportunity across oceans, leaving him adrift. Robert declared it a blessing, kin reunited under one roof, mending what distance had torn. Irony, that sly puppeteer, had other scripts in mind. Ethan arrived hauling crates of vinyl records, tangled chargers, and a guarded vibe, as if testing the air for traps. But welcome? He had it in spades. From the threshold, I folded him into our fold like blood of my own. At the outset, harmony held. He'd drift down for cereal, cords dangling from his ears like lifelines. We'd nod hellos in corridors, murmur evenings into the ether. Subtly, though, the current shifted. It crept in through gestures unbidden. Him hauling sacks from the market without prompt, sleeves hitched to scrub pots after we'd cleared plates. One twilight, when Robert dozed through a flick on the settee, Ethan lingered, claiming the cushion beside mine. No agenda, no undercurrent, just shared frames flickering in the dim. Yet his attention, the way it hooked on my ramblings without wandering, reshaped something in me. He didn't see wife or guardian. He saw Elena. Me. And I caught the glint in his aid, not obligation, but observation. Attuned, alive, When you've been parched for notice, such a sip feels like resurrection. Recall a crisp evening, Robert ensnared in overtime once more. The abode hummed with the stove's low song, solitude my sole companion. Ethan wandered in, cuffs rolled, knife in hand, dicing roots as if summoned by instinct. We stirred a pot in tandem, voices weaving tales, chuckles bubbling over a botched punchline from the screen. Midway, his gaze held mine, steady. "You light up when you laugh like that," he murmured. "It's rare, but it fits you." Plain words, yet they struck like a spark to tinder. The first tremor rippled, not from him, but through me. I waved it off as fancy, a balm for my barren days, a trick of fatigue. Yet buried, I knew, a dormant ember stirred, one-eyed mourned as extinguished. And damn it, it warmed. It ignited with an offhand query, the sort that masquerades as mundane but pries wide a fissure. Ethan ambled into the scullery as I wrestled with herbs, propping against the edge, palms tucked in his fleece. "Mind showing me your secrets in the kitchen?" Simple, unadorned. I glanced up, caught off kilter. He, the shadow dweller, seeking my orbit. A grin tugged my lips. "Planning to woo someone with your ramen skills?" He huffed a laugh, denying it. "Nah, time I graduated beyond cereal and scorched toast." "You're the wizard here. Figured you'd weave the spell best." Wizard. No title so grand in ages. I inclined my head. "Deal. You're my apprentice now." Thus, the ritual bloomed. Dusks blurred into duets. Frittatas fluffed too high, sauces simmered to silk, greens tossed with flair. Mishaps sparked mirth. A charred loaf, a spilled sieve, and stories spilled freer. His knuckles grazed mine over a ladle. I'd incline to demonstrate a pinch of zest, his focus unwavering, as if my every syllable etched gold. One dusk, calamity. A saucer slipped, exploding in shards across stone. I dropped to gather the wreckage, a weary exhale escaping unbidden. Ethan knelt too, shards glinting in his grasp. My breath hitched at his pause, then his query, soft as mist. "You all right in there?" Mere syllables, but they halted me cold. When had authenticity last probed like that? Not rote courtesy, but a gaze that pierced the veil. I teetered on deflection. Fine, just klutzy, but truth jammed my throat. Our stares locked. In mine, he glimpsed tempests uncharted. I quipped past it, blaming the hour, and he yielded. Yet from then, the ether thickened. He'd tarry post-feast, proximity a shade nearer as I minced. And I savored it. The regard that recast me not as appendage, but essence. A woman, vital and vivid. Then came the hush of midnight. Robert had retreated early, slumber his sentinel. I swabbed surfaces when Ethan re-emerged, fresh from ablutions, steam curling from his locks, aura laced with rehearsed nerves. He mirrored me across the counter, gaze tracing my motions. At last, "Mind if I pose something?" I pivoted, cloth in fist. "Fire away." He met my eyes deliberate. "Not as the kid in the house, just me to you. Do I catch your eye? Like in that way?" The space contracted, pulse thundering in my veins. Silence roared, save the distant chime of time. My chest seized. I wasn't braced for the quiver in his tone, the plea etched in his scan of my face. And the cruel twist? A whisper within yearned to affirm. I chalked it to folly, a youth's probe, a blip. But it resonated, stirring a thirst not carnal at dawn but profound, to be craved, to pulse with purpose. He'd hung on my evasion that eve. "Do I catch your eye?" Until awkwardness won. Eyes downcast, he mumbled retreat and vanished into shadows. I gripped linen like a raft in the void. That night, beside Robert's rhythmic rumble, I traced cracks in plaster, palm ghosting his spine in vain hope of rousing concern. Nothing. Recall seasons back. When I'd confessed my drift, he'd prescribed a soak or siesta, chalking it to cycles. End of discourse. Echoes of dismissal flooded, his evasion of my fresh waves, his thumb scrolling past my clasp. Then Ethan's timbre resurfaced, raw, unguarded. Ridiculous, I chided. I was anchor, elder. Yet anchors drag in tempests. Voids defy decrees. Dawn brought Ethan skirting my gaze, words clipped. A pang bloomed. Not shame's full bloom, but ache, for that unguarded instant, for queries that crowned me queen. Days blurred. I tracked him sharper. Distance cloaked him, courtesy his shield, yet I sensed my own lens sharpening. Did his steps halt by my chamber as I readied? Was that curve of lip more than mirth? Fleeting glances, hopes unspoken. I plunged into tasks, scrubbed till gleam, baked till bounty, but fissures widened. Each of Robert's brushed-off overtures, each absent nod to my changed shade fed the murmur, what if? Terror laced it. Fidelity was my creed, not this undercurrent toward one so entwined in our weave. Yet queries turned inward. When did I eclipse my own light? Become echo, not song? Remorse flickered, a distant flare. Wrong. But counter-whispers cooed, what of right's warmth? Me's. Gales lashed that eve, not mist, but torrent battering pains, seeping chill to marrow. Robert departed pre-dawn for a span's toil, summit and distant sprawl, leaving voids in hearths and linens. Abode shrank, thoughts a gale within. Laundry conquered, heaven's bruised slate, world constricted. Knock whispered at my threshold. Ethan, shoeless, fleece sodden, locks lashed, as if he'd courted the squall for sensation. Eyes burdened, he unburdened. A favor. Barely voiced. I yielded passage unthinking. He perched bed's brim, knots in fists, storm's rhythm sentinel. Gaze earthbound, never truly connected lips. Not with intent. Won it etched in trust. With you, eyes lifted. Trust gleamed, rebukes cued, halt, boundaries, safeguard, but tongue-tied. No yielded, no barred. Quiet bridged. He rose languid, granting veto's window. None came, steps closed. Fingers ghosted mine, unresisted. Questing stare met invitation's glow. Lips met, timid, quaking, pure. I permitted, unleading, yet yielding. Oblivion claimed, roles, regrets, all. Vitality surged, not triumph, but revival's gasp, absent years. Tender, frail, youth's reach, void's clasp. Severed he beheld, breaths ragged, then slipped away. I lingered, tempest's twin without. Dawn, Ethan evaded. Late descent, cowl drawn, form shrunken. Grasp for satchel, appetite feigned fled. Coffee scorned, exodus swift. Kitchen's heart, mug my shield, I pondered if beams bore witness. Fracture etched. He spectered through days. No tantrums, mere eclipse. My ingress, his egress. Discourse diced to bare bone. Glimpses snared. Flits of regard, pain's recoil. Regret or recoil? Guilt seeped, chills creep. Routines buried it. Tasks tallied, feasts fashioned, sands acclaim. Yet flavors soured, footing faltered. Proximity choked. Our hush thundered. Facade frayed, as if untouched, unshared, unshifted. Robert's return, weary tread, cheeks rote peck, satchel slumped. I appraised him alien, timbre brash, mirth strained. Yarns of ventures spun, but artifice clung. Knowledge mine alone warped the frame. Our hearth sans castle. Supper's triad, agony's altar. Ethan prodded plate, gaze grounded, mastication measured. Robert queried studies. Shrug, passing. Discourse died. I traced Ethan's twitch, limbs jitter. Tensions echo in my ribs, mine a tide's drag. That night, Robert succumbed to glow's lure. I traced voids anew, breaths catalogued, weights assayed. Hall's hinge sighed, Ethan's portal unventured. No pursuit, ether leaden with unsaid. Triad's voids treacherous now. Monster or mended? Query stalked, mirrors gaze, steps echo, bruise steam, slumbers drone. Facade intact, flesh curve guise, yet core convulsed. Worthy still? Vows vessel? Or one graze, pilfered, recast eternal? I deemed myself sentinel, oaths keeper, burdens borne unbowed. Yet trials forged truth. I'd unmet the forge, Ethan. No serpent, adrift as I, questing clasp in confusion's coil. I bestowed what vaults should guard. Not graze alone, but self's shard, alien even to mirror. Terror's core, no full remorse. Plight pang tangle I mourned. But sight's balm, touches intent. Cherished. Unspeakable, it brands me rift. Void's fracture irreparable. Distractions devoured, Robert sups, sparse spoken. Irons burn, friends' lines rinnit. Yet claw persisted. Thresholds call, gales in main, plea renewed. Would yield recur? Denial's will? Craves command. Nocturnal fray, that schism, vigilance's thief. Betrayal's sting? Not deed's seal, but heart's whisper. Recurrence, cost be damned. Ever bent to fear's yoke? Not craving's fire, but dread's shadow? Wounds inflict, letdown's lash, obscurity's shroud? Not lust's roar, but survival's gasp. For spark, for substance. Blame's mantle mine? Line's breach unbidden? Or reclamation's reach in erasure's grip to reclaim space? Voice it, transgression or tenacity? Frailty or fiber we cloak from light. Imperfect, unabsolved, I bear bone. Kinship's call. Edgewalkers, abyss gazers. If stirring swell, pause, probe, pulse, linger here. We dissect not tales, but pulses maze. Whispers warn, peril's portals don't groan. They yawn, ajar for strides, soft or surge. Isolation lurks not in roar, but recess. Dialogues drift, treads interlude, vigils lapse. It bides till wards weaken, ache's anthem drowns decree. Tread wary with trust's heart's famine keen. One tap, one query, one breath, and tapestries of fealty, self-affection fray. Realization dawns, locks long picked, but here's where my echo finds its hush. Not an endless gyre, but a dawn I clawed toward. Weeks bled into haze, our home a pressure cooker of feigned normalcy. I'd catch Ethan in stolen moments, sketching furiously in his nook, the lines sharp and angry, or staring out rain-streaked windows as if answers pooled in puddles. Me? I'd bury deeper, volunteering at the local shelter, where lost dogs mirrored my own wandering soul, their eager tales a reminder of uncomplicated loyalty. Robert noticed none of it, of course. His world spun on axes of reports and routes, blind to the fault lines spiderwebbing our foundation. One frost-kissed morning, as steam rose from my mug and the world outside glittered under a thin ice crust, I couldn't evade anymore. Ethan shuffled in, hood up like armor, aiming for the door with his pack slung low. "Ethan," I said, voice steadier than I felt. He froze, shoulders hunching as if bracing for impact. "We need to talk. Not as whatever this has become, as us. Before it swallows everything." He turned slow, eyes finally meeting mine. Wary, wounded, but there. We migrated to the sunroom, that glassed-in haven where ferns curled like secrets and light filtered soft through condensation. No accusations flew. No defenses rose like walls. I started, words tumbling raw. The loneliness that had carved me hollow long before his question. The way Robert's distance had turned our bed to a borderland. How Ethan's gaze had felt like sunlight piercing fog, not a spark to fan, but a mirror to my fading self. He listened, knees drawn up, fingers tracing frost patterns on the pane. When he spoke, it was halting, voice cracking like thin ice. "I didn't mean to. I just felt safe with you, like I could breathe. But I get it now, it's messed up. I'm messed up. Mom's gone, Dad's a ghost half the time, and you're the only one who saw me." Tears traced his cheeks then, silent tracks that mirrored the ones I'd swallowed nights on end. I reached, not for comfort's touch, but a clasp of hands. Firm, platonic, a bridge over the chasm we'd gouged. "You're not messed up," I whispered. "You're growing, searching. And I failed you by searching too, in the wrong places. This can't be our story's end, but it has to be its turn. We set the lines now clear as this frost. Family, not this shadow." He nodded, exhale shaky, and in that shared breath something eased, not mended whole, but patched enough to hold. We talked boundaries then, practical as plotting a map, shared spaces with purpose, no late-night drifts, openness with Robert when the moment ripened. Ethan confessed his own storms, the ache of his mother's absence, the pressure of impending choices, how my kitchen lessons had been his anchor in a sea of unknowns. Laughter crept in, tentative, over memories of that charred bread we'd salvaged into toast soldiers, dipping them in jam like conspirators. That afternoon, as clouds parted and sun warmed the glass, I felt the first true thaw. Not perfection's balm, but progress's pulse. Evenings shifted. Ethan joined suppers with fuller plates, stories spilling freer, though glances held new caution, respect's veil, not regrets. I'd catch him texting friends, planning outings, his world expanding beyond our walls. And me? I turned the mirror inward fiercer. One eve, post his retreat to studies, I cornered Robert in our den, fire crackling low like an old friend's murmur. "We're drifting," I said, no preamble. "Not just you and me, the whole of us. Ethan's hurting, I'm hollowing, and if we don't stitch this, it'll tear wide." He blinked, remote paused mid-flicker, surprise etching lines I'd long ignored. For once, no deflection. He leaned in, voice low. "I've been blind, haven't I? Work's my crutch, but it's no excuse." We unraveled then, not in fury's blaze, but honesty's slow burn. Vows revisited, not as chains, but choices renewed. Therapy beckoned, a counselor's calm space where words we'd damned flowed free. Ethan joined sessions too, triad forging anew. Robert learning listens art, Ethan voicing voids, me reclaiming voice as equal, not echo. Months wove forward, threads tightening tentative. Spring bloomed riotous outside, mirroring the green shoots within. Ethan aced exams, landed a summer gig at the pier, hauling nets, sun-kissed and grinning in photos he texted, Independence's glow. Robert carved evenings sacred, walks along the bluff where waves whispered secrets, hands rediscovering paths long overgrown. And I bloomed solo. Classes in pottery, where clay yielded to palms like doubts to will, shaping vessels from voids. The echo lingered, faint now, a scar's texture, not wounds throb, reminder that fractures faced can forge stronger seams. Was it survival's sharp edge or stumble's shadow? Both perhaps entwined as lovers and foes. I emerged not unbroken but resilient. Woman, not wreckage. If your nights echo mine, no. Doors ajar invite not doom alone, but dawn's possibility. Turn the key yourself. The light beyond is yours to claim. And in that claiming, we all find our way home.